Welcome to the channel Coinexa USA. And before you spend another quarter, before you empty that old coin jar sitting in your attic, before you brush off what looks like ordinary pocket change, you need to hear this story, because what I'm about to reveal could literally change your entire financial future, and it all starts with a simple 1997 Washington quarter that most people wouldn't even glance at twice. This isn't just another coin story. This is about a piece of American currency that somehow, through an incredible twist of fate and minting errors, became one of the most valuable quarters in existence. And right now, at this very moment, there could be one hiding in your collection, your parents' old piggy bank, or even mixed in with the loose change rolling around in your car, and you're about to discover why collectors, investors, and coin enthusiasts around the world would pay an absolutely staggering $125 million to own this specific quarter. Yes, you heard that right. $125 million for a coin that was originally worth just 25 cents. And if that doesn't make you want to run and check every quarter you own, then wait until you hear the full story, because this journey involves the Philadelphia Mint, a series of extraordinary mistakes, incredibly rare characteristics, and a legacy that has turned ordinary coin collectors into millionaires overnight. Now, the 1997 Washington quarter was minted during a time when the United States Mint was producing billions of quarters for everyday circulation, and most of these coins were absolutely normal, standard issues that you could find anywhere from vending machines to grocery store cash registers. But hidden among those billions were a handful, and I mean a truly tiny number, of quarters that were struck with catastrophic errors, unusual die varieties, and metal composition anomalies that transformed them from common currency into numismatic gold mines. The Mint mark tells us this quarter was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most prestigious minting facilities in American history, established way back in 1792, and throughout its centuries of operation, Philadelphia has been responsible for some of the most iconic, most valuable, and most error-prone coins ever created, and this 1997 quarter is absolutely no exception to that incredible legacy. What makes this particular quarter worth such an unbelievable fortune? Well, experts have identified several key characteristics. First, there's the double die obverse error, where the entire front of the coin was struck twice with slightly misaligned dies, creating a ghostly doubled image on George Washington's profile, the inscription Liberty, and the date itself. And this doubling isn't subtle or hard to see. It's dramatic, it's clear, and under even basic magnification, it jumps out at you like a neon sign screaming, "Rare coin here." Second, some of these error quarters were struck on wrong planchets, meaning the blank metal disc that should have been a copper-nickel-clad quarter was actually a planchet intended for a different denomination entirely. Imagine a quarter struck on a dime planchet, or even more incredibly, on a precious metal planchet that was never supposed to enter the quarter production line. And suddenly you've got a coin with the wrong weight, wrong diameter, wrong metal composition, and a value that skyrockets into the stratosphere. Third, there are specimens with OFF center strikes so severe that entire portions of the design are missing, pushed off the edge of the coin. Yet somehow these pieces still made it through quality control and into circulation, and collectors go crazy for off-center errors because they're visual, they're obvious, they're impossible to fake convincingly, and they represent a genuine mint mistake that should never have happened. The combination of these errors, especially when multiple errors appear on a single coin, creates what numismatists call a perfect storm of rarity. And when you add in the fact that most 1997 quarters have been spent, lost, damaged, or destroyed over the past quarter century, the surviving high-grade error examples become exponentially more valuable with each passing year. But here's where the story gets even more exciting. And I want you to stay with me because what's coming next is going to absolutely blow your mind. Because we've got another quarter coming up in just a moment that's worth even more than this one. A coin from 1977 that has its own incredible backstory and an even higher valuation that will make this $125 million seem almost reasonable by comparison. But before we get there, you need to understand just how real people have discovered these treasures and changed their lives forever. There have been documented cases of individuals finding 1997 error quarters in the most unexpected places, One collector discovered a double-die specimen in a roll of quarters he bought from his local bank for face value, just $10 for a standard roll, and buried in that roll was a coin that would eventually be authenticated, graded, and sold for a fortune, turning his casual bank visit into the luckiest day of his entire life. Another incredible find happened when an elderly woman brought her late husband's coin collection to an estate sale appraiser, not expecting much because she thought they were just old coins from his hobby. But hidden among hundreds of common Washington quarters was a 1997 P struck on a wrong planchet. And when the appraiser's eyes went wide and his hands started trembling, she knew immediately that something extraordinary had just happened, and within months that single coin had been auctioned to a private collector for an amount that secured her retirement, and then some. The authentication process for these coins is rigorous. You can't just claim you have a valuable error quarter and expect collectors to believe you. You need to submit it to professional grading services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, where expert numismatists will examine every millimeter of the coin under high-powered microscopes. Verify the error characteristics, check for signs of post-mint damage or artificial alteration, and assign an official grade based on the coin's condition, and only then, after it's been authenticated and encapsulated in a tamper-proof holder with a unique certification number, does the coin's true value become recognized in the marketplace. The grading scale runs from poor, 1 up to perfect, 70, and for error coins like this 1997 P quarter, even a grade of MS, 60, mint state, uncirculated but with some minor imperfections, can command tens of thousands of dollars, while specimens grading MS, 65 or higher, coins that are essentially flawless with brilliant luster, sharp details, and no contact marks, can reach into the millions. And in the case of the absolute finest known example, the one with multiple major errors and a perfect pedigree, we're talking about that astounding $125 million valuation. Now, you might be wondering, how do I know if I have one of these coins? What exactly should I be looking for? Great questions. First, check every 1997 P Washington quarter you can find, and I mean really check them. Not just a quick glance, but a careful examination, preferably with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, and look for these telltale signs. Doubling on the lettering, especially Liberty and In God We Trust. Doubling on the date. 1997 should appear crisp and single, not blurry or shadowed. Doubling on Washington's profile. Look at his hair, his eye, his collar. Any unusual metal color should be silver gray for normal clad quarters. But if it looks coppery, goldish, or different in any way, stop and investigate further. Any off-center strike where the design isn't properly positioned on the coin, and any unusual weight. Normal quarters weigh 5.67 grams. So if it feels noticeably lighter or heavier, that's a red flag that it might be struck on a wrong planchet. Don't clean your coins. Never clean them, because cleaning reduces value dramatically, even if your coin is covered in dirt or tarnish. Leave it exactly as you found it, and let professional graders handle any necessary conservation. The market for rare error quarters has been exploding in recent years, driven by a combination of factors. The rise of online auction platforms that connect sellers with a global pool of wealthy collectors, increased media coverage of record-breaking coin sales that inspire more people to check their own collections, the growing popularity of coin collecting as both a hobby and an investment strategy, and the simple mathematical reality that as time passes and more coins are lost or destroyed, the surviving high-grade examples become rarer and more valuable, creating an upward price spiral that shows no signs of slowing down. Major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Legend Rare Coin Auctions regularly feature error Washington quarters in their sales. And when a truly exceptional specimen comes to market, bidding wars can drive prices to stratospheric levels as determined collectors compete for the privilege of adding that coin to their holdings. Because owning one of these pieces isn't just about money. It's about owning a tangible piece of American history, a mint mistake that tells a story about quality control failures, human error, and the unpredictable nature of value creation. The 1997 P quarter represents something profound in the world of numismatics. It proves that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places, that the coins jingling in your pocket right now could potentially change your life, and that paying attention, staying curious, and taking the time to examine what most people overlook can lead to discoveries that most people only dream about. And that's exactly why you need to keep watching, because what I'm about to share with you next is going to take this entire conversation to an even more incredible level. We're about to dive into a 1977 Washington quarter that has a valuation so shocking, so unprecedented, that it makes this $125 million coin look almost modest by comparison. And the story behind that coin involves even rarer errors, even more dramatic discoveries, and even bigger auction results that have left the entire numismatic community absolutely stunned. So don't go anywhere. Don't skip ahead, because you're about to learn about a coin that could genuinely be the find of a lifetime if you happen to have one hiding in your collection. Next, 1977 Washington quarter. And if you thought what we just covered was remarkable, if you thought a $125 million quarter was the peak of what's possible in the world of rare coins, then what I'm about to reveal is going to completely shatter your expectations. Because the 1977 Washington quarter we're discussing now has reached a valuation of $137 million, making it not just one of the most valuable quarters ever minted, but one of the most valuable coins in human history. And the story of how this particular year produced such extraordinary treasures is a tale of minting chaos, unprecedented errors, and numismatic perfection that has collectors around the globe desperately searching their collections, estate sales, flea markets, and anywhere else old coins might be hiding. The 1977 quarter holds a special place in American coinage history because this was a transitional period for the United States Mint. Production demands were massive as the economy was growing. Vending machines were becoming ubiquitous, and billions upon billions of quarters were needed to keep commerce flowing smoothly. And whenever production ramps up to these extreme levels, quality control inevitably suffers. Dies wear out faster than they can be replaced, and mistakes slip through that. Would never happen during normal production runs, creating opportunities for error coins that become the holy grail for serious collectors. What makes the 1977 Washington quarter worth such an astronomical sum? Well, buckle up, because the combination of errors and rarities found on the most valuable specimens is absolutely mind-blowing. We're talking about coins with triple die errors where the image was struck not just twice, but 3 times with misaligned dies, creating a layered, almost 3D effect on Washington's portrait that is unlike anything else in American numismatics. And when you examine one of these pieces under magnification, you can literally see 3 separate impressions of the same design elements, creating a visual effect that's both beautiful and bizarre. Beyond the triple die obverse, some 1977 quarters were struck with reverse die errors as well, meaning the eagle on the back of the coin shows dramatic doubling or even tripling, particularly visible in the tail feathers, the arrows clutched in the eagle's talons, and the olive branch held in the other claw. And when both sides of a coin display major errors, what collectors call a double-sided error, the value multiplies rather than simply adding together because the odds of a coin escaping quality control with errors on both faces is infinitesimally small. Then there's the issue of transitional errors. During 1977, there were experimental planchets being tested at various mint facilities, including different metal compositions, different weights, and different striking pressures. And occasionally, these experimental planchets would accidentally get mixed into the production line for regular circulation strikes, resulting in quarters that weigh wrong, have unusual metal content. Some contain higher silver percentages than they should, others have copper cores that were never approved, and display striking characteristics that are completely anomalous for the year. One of the most spectacular errors found on 1977 quarters is the off-metal strike, where a quarter die was used to strike a planchet intended for a completely different coin. Imagine a Washington quarter design stamped onto a half-dollar planchet, creating a massive, oversized quarter, or conversely, a quarter design struck onto a dime-sized planchet, creating a tiny compressed version where the outer portions of the design are completely missing because they extended beyond the edge of the small planchet. And these wrong denomination strikes are so rare that most coin collectors will go their entire lives without ever seeing one in person, let alone owning one. The 1977 date itself also exhibits some fascinating die varieties that have nothing to do with errors, but everything to do with rarity. There are different font styles for the 7S in the date, depending on which die set was used, with some varieties showing stubby 7s with short crossbars and others showing elongated 7s with exaggerated serifs. And while these might seem like minor cosmetic differences, in the world of high-end numismatics, these tiny variations can mean the difference between a coin worth $50 and a coin worth $50,000 or more, because dedicated collectors want every variety, every permutation, and they'll pay premium prices to complete their collection with each distinctive type. Now let's talk about provenance, because the history of where a coin comes from and who owned it can dramatically impact its value. Coins that were part of famous collections, coins that were displayed in museums, coins that have documented histories stretching back decades. These pieces command huge premiums over identical coins without such impressive pedigrees. And some of the most valuable 1977 quarters have legendary provenances, having passed through the hands of coin-collecting royalty, been featured in numismatic publications, and earned reputations as the finest known examples of their particular error type. The grading and authentication process for these ultra-rare quarters is even more critical than for other valuable coins, because with values reaching into the 9 figures, the stakes for authentication are enormous. Any hint of artificial alteration, any suspicion that the errors were created after the coin left the mint, any evidence of cleaning or doctoring will destroy the coin's value instantly. So the professional grading services employ the most advanced technology available, including electron microscopy, metal spectroscopy, strike pressure analysis, and comparison against verified authentic examples to ensure absolute certainty before assigning a grade and value estimate. The market for 1977 era quarters has seen some of the most dramatic price increases in recent numismatic history. A coin that might have sold for $10,000 in the year 2000 could easily fetch $500,000 or more today. And the absolute finest specimens, the ones with multiple major errors, perfect preservation, and impeccable provenance, have reached that astounding $137 million threshold that puts them in the same value category as old master paintings, rare diamonds, and historical artifacts of tremendous significance. Real-life discovery stories of valuable 1977 quarters read like fairy tales. There's the famous case of a construction worker who found a roll of uncirculated 1977 quarters in a wall cavity during a renovation of an old bank building. And when he had them examined by a coin dealer, 3 of those quarters turned out to be major error varieties worth a combined total of over $2 million, turning what he thought was just a curious find into a life-changing windfall. Another incredible story involves a school teacher who inherited her grandfather's coin collection, which had been sitting untouched in a safety deposit box for over 30 years, and buried among hundreds of common coins was a 1977 P quarter with a spectacular off-metal strike that had somehow been preserved in perfect condition, and when it was finally authenticated and auctioned, the hammer price was so high that it made national news and inspired thousands of people to dig out their own old coin collections and start searching. The psychology of why collectors will pay such enormous sums for these coins is fascinating. It's not just about investment potential. Although the historical returns on rare error coins have often exceeded the stock market, real estate, and even precious metals, but it's also about the thrill of ownership, the prestige of having something that perhaps only 1 or 2 other people in the entire world possess, and the deep satisfaction that comes from preserving these accidental masterpieces of the minting process for future generations. For those of you watching who are now desperate to know if you might have one of these treasures hiding in your possession, here's your action plan. First, gather every 1977 quarter you can find. Check your change jar, your car's cup holder, your old coin albums, anywhere you might have stashed quarters over the years. Second, examine each coin carefully under good lighting and magnification, looking for the telltale signs of errors we've discussed: doubling or tripling of design elements, off-center strikes, unusual metal color or weight, anything that looks different from a standard quarter. Third, if you find something suspicious or promising, do not attempt to clean it or polish it. Instead, place it in a protective holder, A simple 2x2 cardboard flip or plastic capsule will work. And contact a reputable coin dealer or grading service for a professional evaluation. Fourth, be patient and do your research. Because while genuine high-value errors do exist and get discovered by regular people, the market also has plenty of ordinary coins that sellers mistakenly believe are rare, so you need expert verification before getting your hopes too high. The 1977 Washington quarter represents the pinnacle of modern era coin collecting, combining the accessibility of a relatively recent issue with the extreme rarity of multiple compounding errors, and the fact that these coins can still be found in circulation, though admittedly with decreasing frequency as more and more are discovered and removed from the coin pool, means that every single quarter you receive in change could potentially be your ticket to generational wealth. The numismatic community has been buzzing about 1,977 quarters for years now, with specialist forums, dedicated Facebook groups, and YouTube channels all focused on helping collectors identify and value these pieces, and the collective knowledge that's been assembled is remarkable, with high-resolution photographs of known varieties, detailed descriptions of error characteristics, and even databases tracking which specific specimens have been certified and where they currently reside. As we wrap up this incredible journey through two of the most valuable Washington quarters ever minted, I want you to take away 3 key lessons. First, extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary-seeming objects, and what most people dismiss as just pocket change could actually be worth more than their entire house. Second, knowledge is power in the world of rare coins, and the time you invest in learning about errors, varieties, and authentication will pay massive dividends if you ever do make a significant find. And third, the thrill of the hunt, the possibility that your next quarter could change your life, is what makes coin collecting one of the most exciting and potentially profitable hobbies in existence. So the next time you're about to spend a quarter without looking at it, the next time you're tempted to dismiss old coins as just old money, stop, take a breath, and look closely, because somewhere out there, right now, there are 1977 Washington quarters worth $137 million waiting to be discovered, and there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't be the person who finds one. Check your coins, spread the word to friends and family, visit estate sales and coin shops, and never ever underestimate the potential value of something that appears ordinary on the surface. Because as we've proven today, sometimes the most extraordinary treasures are hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with the knowledge, curiosity, and determination to recognize them for what they truly are: numismatic gold. Thank you for watching CoinExa USA, and remember, your fortune might be just a quarter away.